Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. A single father in Indianapolis wound up losing his life when he wound up going out on a date with a woman from Instagram who set him up to be robbed by her boyfriend. Now, in this alleged incident that took place in January of this year, 26-year-old Jarrell Pryor, who was the father of a daughter, allegedly was on Instagram where he sent a direct message to 19-year-old Alexis Hawkins. And after he sent Alexis Hawkins this DM asking when you free, he allegedly set up a date with her, not knowing that she had a boyfriend, 18-year-old Brian Winston Jr., and that Alexis Hawkins and Brian Winston Jr. were allegedly making plans to set him up for a robbery. Now, Jarrell Pryor went on this date with Alexis Hawkins, and as they were on this date, this is where Brian Winston Jr. allegedly ambushed the couple, and as he ambushed the couple, Jarrell Pryor had no idea that he was being set up for robbery and was allegedly shot multiple times. And after they wound up robbing Jarrell Pryor, Alexis Hawkins and Brian Winston Jr. wound up fleeing the scene. And after they fled the scene, they basically were laying low for about a month as police did their investigation into who took the life of Jarrell Pryor. And about a month later, they eventually found, after going through Jarrell Pryor's cell phone, they found in the cell phone records and text messages that he had set that date up with Alexis Hawkins, and she was taken into custody. And as Alexis Hawkins was taken into custody, Brian Winston Jr. was taken into custody in April 2nd in Austin, Texas, before he was extradited to Indiana, and both were taken into custody. Now, the Indianapolis police see this alleged incident as an isolated one, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of Jarrell Pryor and the behavior of Alexis Hawkins and Brian Winston Jr., that they definitely fits the pattern and profile of simps that I talk about in Stop Simpin' in Cyberspace, and the simps I talk about in Stop Simpin' Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. And when it comes down to Brian Winston Jr., his behavior definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, what's really sad here about Jarrell Lamont Pryor is if he had read my book, Stop Simpin' in Cyberspace, he possibly would still be here to take care of his now 3-year-old daughter, and he would basically be safe. Now, this young man was one of those good brothers who was out here, had a good job, working at the carrier plant, making good money, taking care of his child, and sadly, because there was no men in the community to give him any sort of guidance, this young man basically fell into a trap that happens to many cyber simps online. Many cyber simps online who get enamored by a woman on Instagram, and as they get enamored by that woman on Instagram, they get caught up in their feelings, not critically thinking to ask the critical question I pose in the second chapter of Stop Simpin' in Cyberspace, and that question is, why is this woman online? Because any woman who is of good character is not online, and not online because she basically has a life in the real world and doesn't need to go on social media. No, the only women who usually go on social media usually are women who, one, have extremely low self-esteem, two, are extremely desperate for attention, or three, female predators looking for a big, fat, juicy simp to prey on. And sadly, Jarrell Lamont Pryor, because he was one of those guys who was still in his simp phase and really didn't understand what it meant to be a man, basically got caught up with this woman, not understanding the reason she was online was because she was looking for somebody to prey on, because she really didn't have anything going on with her life. Because again, when a woman has something going on in her life, she's not on social media. No, she's out in the real world with a real man, and in the real world with that real man, because a man is not going to have his woman online on places like Instagram showing off her body. No, a man is going to make sure that the woman is a good reflection of him and keep his woman offline. But in the case, sadly, of this Alexis Hawkins, she was online and she had a boyfriend. And again, I talk about this in Stop Simping in Cyberspace as related to why this woman is online. Because usually, in a lot of cases with these women who are online, they usually got a man, and they usually got a man who's basically blowing their back out and putting up pictures of themselves to bait big, fat, juicy simps so that they can go out here and get a payday. Now, in the case of Alexis Hawkins, she was one of these light-skinned chicks with the creamy skin and the blonde hair, and that basically mesmerized Jarrell Pryor, who, as he got in his cyber thirst, again looked to arrange this date, not understanding that this woman basically was out here, again, setting up a thirst trap to basically devour a simp in it, and possibly has been doing this for some time. And as she was doing this for some time, possibly going out here, getting the free meal, and then setting the guy up for a robbery, and then as her boyfriend, again, went out here and robbed the guy basically was embarrassed to the point where the guys, in some cases, possibly never said anything. This is just me speculating as related to things, but the whole thing is, in this case, when it came down to Jarrell Pryor basically went on this date thinking he was going to be out with the girl that he saw online, thinking that he could possibly get this girl to go out here and, after they had some McDonald's, go out here and drop the skid mark jockey draws, and he could go out here and put his carbon rod in the atomic waste reactor or the atomic waste receptacle, and possibly go out here and get some draws on the side while his parents took care of his daughter. And possibly as he was running these streets, he didn't know what he was running into. And sadly, as he ran into this whole situation, this is where he wound up sadly losing his life because he did not have those male life skills or those male survival skills to understand how to navigate life in this world. Because any man with any sort of self-worth or self-esteem understands to stay away from women who are online, to stay far away from women online, because if a woman has to go online, it's usually because she's got serious issues. Because again, quality women, they can go out here and find a quality man through referrals from their family, referrals from their friends, or just meeting a dude on the street. Again, they can go out here and they're open to be out here because what they want to do is, again, be able to vet an individual by reading their body language and their facial expressions. But a guy who doesn't understand this, he'll go out here thinking that he can go out here and get some easy attention from some chick who he meets in the DMs. And again, the chicks you meet in the DMs, what they're doing is putting on an online persona, and they put on an online persona, tell you what you want to hear, because they're not interested in getting sexual access to you or giving sexual access to you. No, what they want to do is go out here and get your head gassed up, get you caught up in your feelings. And as they get you caught up in your feelings and you're mesmerized and spellbound by their beauty, these sirens basically are looking to either set you up, where they're looking to get you to give them cash apps or PayPal donations, or they're looking to, in this extreme case, looking to set a guy up for a robbery. And again, not a good situation for you to be in, because you don't know anything about this person except what they're writing in the DMs. And that's why I always value a face-to-face meeting, because in a face-to-face meeting, as related to meeting people, you can go out here and read their body language, read their facial expressions, and more importantly, you have freedom to be able to walk away from that person if the vibe ain't feeling right. But when you go online and you meet strangers online, you're basically putting a target on your back, where you're setting yourself up for a very dangerous situation. That's what many people don't understand about dealing with people online. Again, when it comes down to online, any sort of dating, it's not a good thing, because basically you're thinking this woman is available, and again, they can put up that persona that they are available. Meanwhile, there's a dude that they're involved with, and that dude is blowing the back out, and again, going out here putting this girl in all sorts of pretzel sexual positions, and you're sitting there thinking this is a woman who is free and single, when she's not at all. And that's where you basically again are putting yourself in danger, because again, you have to ask the critical question, why is this woman online? Because if she's a good looking woman, again, chances are she's got lots of dudes hollering at her, and she's got lots of dudes hollering at her in the street, or she has a boyfriend. So when you see a woman online and she's out here looking to check for guys, you got to understand there's something suspect about that. You've got to understand that there's something suspect about that as related to that case. And sadly, when it came down to 26-year-old Jarrell Pryor, sadly, he was one of those guys who wasn't up on game, and sadly wasn't put up on game. Now, he was a guy who came from a home with two parents, but sadly his father didn't teach him about the games as related to these streets. He was possibly one of these square dudes who definitely needed to pick up some of my books, like Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, or books like Stop Simping in Cyberspace to get up on game. And that would have possibly saved his life had he gotten those type of books and gotten up on game, because he definitely showed how green he was. I mean, he was one of those guys who was like one of the thirsty guys who'd be dropping the DMs and trying to get with chicks, not understanding this is not how you move in these streets. No, a man don't be moving out here by going out here and dropping thirsty comments in the DMs of chicks out here, because you don't know who this chick is involved with. You don't know what company she's keeping. You don't know anything about them, because people can create all sorts of online personas, and you don't know who they are until you're outside with them, and that could be too little too late to find out who she's with. And that's sadly what happened here in the case of Jarrell Pryor. And again, what happened to him was quite tragic, because here was a young man who was, again, 26 years old. I remember being 26 myself. You're just getting ready to start your life, and you're basically about to be on your own. Again, this was a young man who was raising a 3-year-old daughter, and sadly, as he's out here looking to build his life, everything wound up falling apart, because he made the bad decision to go out here and get with a woman online, not understanding, hey, when it comes down to women who are online, this is not anybody you want to deal with, because if she's online, that basically tells you she's got low self-esteem, she's got serious character issues, because again, if you're a good-looking woman and you've got it going on, you got lots of dudes in the street already hollering at you, and you already got a man. And in some cases, now this woman, again, 19 years old, got an 18-year-old boyfriend. That's a red flag for me that says who was the dominant in the relationship, because usually when it comes down to women, they usually want an older guy because they want to be led. So she basically was the leader in this whole situation and possibly came up with this scheme with this Pookie to go out here and rob this guy. And everything basically went wrong from the minute they came up with this plan. And everything went wrong from the minute they came up with this plan, because when it came down to the internet, everything on these sites basically is a record of your actions, and they have your IP address on any device you use, whether it be a cell phone, a laptop, or a tablet, and that creates a virtual trail that basically leads straight to you and creates hard evidence that you basically participated in these actions, hard evidence of those DMs and those messages that were sent to each other. All of that is admissible in court as evidence. That's what Alexis Hawkins and Brian Winston Jr. weren't thinking about. They weren't thinking about, oh, all of this evidence can be basically traced back to me on these text messages from these cell phones, especially the conversations that Alexis allegedly had with Brian Winston as related to planning the robbery of Jarrell Pryor. All of this can basically be admitted in court to create an open and shut case that will possibly lead to Alexis Hawkins and Brian Winston Jr. going from being on these streets looking for simps to prey on to Alexis winding up in the big house with Big Betty, Martha, and Big Lou, going out here playing spades with them, as Brian Winston Jr., the alleged trigger man, is going to wind up in prison for the rest of his life, dealing with guys like the CEOs who will be apathetic as he has to deal with the social pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, who will basically go out here and be trading this dude's front side and backside for all of the commissary, such as the Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand vanilla wafers, all Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies. I mean, basically, again, taking him out on a date and turning his front side and back side out, and then after they turn it out, go out here and let Mr. Sprinkles go in there and spray him with all sorts of special sauce, then split the cheeks open and watch it and tell all the guys on Cell Block D that his backside, and show his backside looking like the inside of Louisiana crunch cake. And that's the fate that's going to happen to this dude. Again, a dude who basically thought, oh, he gonna go in the street and go out here and jack some dude for a little bit of change. He didn't understand how looking to jack this dude for a little bit of change wound up changing his life for the far worse, changing it for the worse, because that's where this young man basically is now on the road to being a man in crisis, because he listened to a woman who created a crisis, one of these feminist indoctrinated women that I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis. Both of them are now going from being on a road to being on the streets to now going to do life in prison, because they didn't really they were out here looking to, again, run a game online where they were looking to, again, go out here and take a guy out. And again, this is a sad, tragic case of young people whose lives were changed because they didn't have that structure from a father to give them guidance as related to things. Because with Jarrell Pryor, I don't think his father, again, taught him about the game as related to dating, and he couldn't really teach him about the game of dating. Again, that's where a man who would have some seasoning about online would tell him, look, stay off online dating, just stay out these women's DMs. No, this is not how you meet women. That would have saved his life. And in the case of Alexis Hawkins and Brian Winston Jr., there was no father there to give them guidance on, don't pull one of these stupid schemes, because if you pull one of these schemes online, your phone got an IP address, a Wi-Fi card with an IP address in it that's going to lead everything to you. And instead of you having your freedom to go out here and have your relationship, both of you will wind up getting broken up and again getting turned out inside of these penitentiaries where you'll be sitting there for the rest of your life. And what's really the saddest part is that this 3-year-old girl will not have her father in her life, and possibly did lose her mother because they said he was a single father. I mean, this girl has lost both of her parents if these reports are true. I mean, that's the saddest part, is that this child has lost both of their parents, all because we had a pair of teenagers basically sitting around thinking that they could pull an online scheme, again, living in their own little virtual world, not understanding in the real world there are real consequences. And because there are real consequences in the real world, this 3-year-old girl doesn't have a father, and hopefully the grandparents will come in and stop the cycle of men and women being in crisis, and hopefully help this girl to go out here and have an abundant life under Jesus Christ. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of a cyber simp, or to identify why you shouldn't be online looking for women, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you want to learn how to break out of the simp paradigm and learn how to have actual healthy relationships with women, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon.com, along with the book that will teach you all about how to identify the behavior of a beta male or a feminist indoctrinated women, which is the man crisis and the woman crisis. And you can find all 4 of these books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about cyber simps and help men again break out of this whole pattern of going online to look for love, because looking for love online is the wrong place, you can help me continue to make these kind of videos that I hope will help other men avoid dangerous liaisons with women online by dropping a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box, because that helps me stay on the air to continue making informative videos like this. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.